Hey everybody, another Windows update for the Baikal system. I wanted to see if this was like a Windows 10 old build versus Windows 11 thing, and messing around with that, I did manage to figure out what the issue was, or at least I have a theory and I have a workaround. So, long story short is yes, you can install Windows 11, with the same kind of limitations as I highlighted in the earlier video. PCI Express still doesn't really work, but you can install it and you can boot the desktop. Okay, so this is just like the last time we booted the installation, and you click next, and at that point it just kind of keels over. Now, in my last video, I kind of jumped to the conclusion that what I was seeing was setup not being able to identify any target disks to install to. But reading that a bit closer and then analyzing a few log files, what really seems to be happening here is setup can't find its own files. Now, this likely could be a firmware problem or some kind of interaction between the firmware bug and maybe a bug in the Windows boot code. Who knows? Where it's not able to connect the dots and realize that the CD-ROM in this case is actually on a USB key. If you see here, it can't even browse the USB key. I mean, yes, it has a UDF file system on it, DVD, that's the ISO. But somehow it's not able to connect the dots and mount that correctly. Okay, so I thought about that, and I realized that maybe what I could do is just crack open the ISO and copy all the files to an empty FAT32 formatted USB key. And back in the Windows 10 days, that never quite worked very well because the installation WIM was always larger than 4 gigabytes, which is the limit for a FAT32 partition. So yeah, kind of end of the game there. But with Windows 11, that's not a problem because the installation WIM apparently is small enough. Anyway. Okay, so let's see that in action. Oops. Really, let's see it in action. Okay, so already looks a bit different. This is just booting all the contents of the ISO as if it was, a removable media. So it's /EFI/boot, boot AA64. And of course, we very quickly get into the setup. But now, if we follow all of these steps, what we see, well, we see that it doesn't crash in the same way, which is quite encouraging. Now, well, yeah, let's go through the motions. All right. Now, pick the operating system to install, and of course it can't because this is a Cortex A57 system, no TPM, probably has secure boot, but who's keeping count? All right, so let's get out of there. And I mean, if you use Google, and I'm sure you can use Google, you all know that the trick to doing this is to run regedit and then go to HKLM, system, setup, and then create a key, which is called lab config. Probably one of those things that eventually will go away, but we can enjoy them at a time. And then underneath that, you need to create 3 dword values. One of them is bypass CPU check, and set that to 1, of course. And then another one is bypass TPM check, set that to 1, of course. And then bypass secure boot check, and set that to 1. Okay, so now if we run setup, I have no idea why that looks different, but again, who's keeping count? Okay, so, and if you recall, we've never seen that screen before either. Now, I already have an installation, and I'm not actually going to show you the installation, but yes, you can see the local SATA disk, and you'll be able to install things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just reboot at this point, and show you what that installation looks like, and then we can kind of poke around, and I'll show you the device manager. And again, so you can see the NVMe and my discrete PCI Express USB controller now working. So, Windows 11 on this system, it's not particularly fast. It's not snappy. Obviously, it's a 1.5 gigahertz Cortex A57. Maybe that has something to do with it. But of course, the graphics are completely not accelerated. This is just the EFI frame buffer. If we had Mali graphics drivers for Windows, I'm sure the story would be quite different, and this would be a very usable system. But just like PCI Express is the bane of ARM systems, graphics is the bane of all of these unofficial Windows and ARM installations. So I'm not really a Windows 11 person. This is literally my second or third time playing around with it. Let's start up the task manager just so I show you that, yeah, this really is that Baikal system. The performance tab, there we go. That's my SATA SSD. These are my scorching fast Cortex A57 CPUs. And if we go into the control panel and subsequently get into the device manager, what we shall see is that the NVMe Express controller has failed to start. So same information that was what was available using the PNP util. In the events, maybe a bit more info, but nothing particularly insightful. Like, it failed to start, it had a problem. This status code, I think, just says more or less failed to start. Nothing that could really pinpoint the problem. My current theory is still that it's interrupt related, but at this point, who knows? I don't really know how to debug this stuff in Windows. Yeah, so there's that. Windows works. I mean, let's say I could connect my USB. Actually, I do have a USB networking connected, but it doesn't know what to do with it, does it? USB devices. Does it even see it? Network adapters. Yeah, it doesn't even know my what this RTL USB 3 Ethernet dongle is. I have an older one which I think should work, but so there you have it. PCI Express obviously still needs work. Although maybe it's not PCI Express. Actually, I think it really is the MSI interrupts that somehow don't work. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have some hints for me to see and how to diagnose these failures with both the NVMe Express and the other PCI Express discrete USB 3 controller, I'll be excited to hear those out. Maybe it's something obvious. Who knows? All right.